Recently, the One Piece has been unraveling quite a bit of crucial information. However, numerous incidents still remain enshrouded in enigma, one being the God Valley incident. While most discussions about God Valley center around rocks and the celestial dragons, I personally harbor one question. Why was Roger there? In the original context, as Sengoku depicts God Valley, he states, Garp teamed up with Roger, who happened to be there, to defeat rocks. That's right. Roger just chanced upon God Valley. What was his intention? This question might find an answer with the latest episode hinting at the possibility of Mother Flame being created by Vegapunk. In addition, pivotal information can be found in the 4 billion volume distributed as movie bonuses. I reside in Tokyo, so I watched this movie thrice last year. If there's another One Piece movie in the future, please do visit Japan. Let's enjoy the movie together. There is one more thing I would like to ask you. Why did Oda-sensei decide that Roger reached Lodestar Island 39 years ago? There seems to be a specific reason for this. It's because the timeline of One Piece is essentially interconnected. Therefore, in this video, I aim to delve into this mystery from the standpoint of a native Japanese speaker, drawing upon the original version of One Piece. Anyway, welcome to another episode of Dawn Dusk. The owner of this channel also teaches Japanese. If you are interested in Japanese, please join my Telegram chat. We send information in Japanese. In any case, I hope to be able to grow this channel together with you, as true Nakama. I'd first like to touch on the ancient weapons that Roger was aware of. This information might have deep ties to the God Valley incident. 27 years ago, the Battle of Ed War took place. Roger's pirates found themselves surrounded by Shiki's vast fleet. On that occasion, Shiki made the following proposal to Roger. A weapon capable of destroying the world, the location of which you know, combined with my military power. And with a perfect plan that I've been working on for many years, we could rule the world at this very moment. The world-destroying weapon Shiki is talking about is undoubtedly an ancient weapon. This means that Roger knew the location of an ancient weapon already 27 years ago. In the original version, indeed, Shiki says like this, "This Arika means where it is." Therefore, Roger not only knew of its existence, but he also knew its precise location. But in this case, a doubt arises. Which ancestral weapon are they talking about? It's possible that he was referring to a weapon different from the 3 ancestral weapons, but this would make the story more complex. So personally, I think it is one of the 3. Let's examine each of them. First of all, it's important to remember that this conversation between Roger and Shiki occurs during the Battle of Ed War, which took place 27 years ago. So, we can rule out the ancestral weapon Roger became aware of later. Can you think of anything? Poseidon. Roger and his pirates first learned of Poseidon's existence when they visited the Sky Island 26 years ago, the year following the Ed War battle. So, we can rule out Poseidon. Let's move on to Pluton. A poneglyph indicating the location of Pluton is located in the basement of the Alabasta Palace, making it unlikely that Roger had visited that place. Furthermore, Roger met Odin 26 years ago, so at least after the Ed War battle, Roger learned about Pluton's secret from Odin. But there is still another possibility: Tom. According to the flashbacks of Roger's pirates, it seems that Roger and Tom were old friends. The plans for Pluton have been passed down from generation to generation among the master shipwrights of Water 7, so it is entirely possible that Roger heard about Pluton from Tom. The problem is that Tom only inherited the project. We don't know whether Tom was aware of the existence of Pluton and its resting place underground in Wano. Therefore, while it's certain that Roger knew about the existence of Pluton, it's unclear whether Roger knew where Pluton was located, as Shiki asserted. Another possibility is Uranus. But what is Uranus? At the moment, Mother Flame seems to be the most probable candidate. In fact, I believe that Mother Flame may be connected with Uranus. Moreover, many readers presume that Uranus is a weapon related to the sky, and I agree with this hypothesis. Before the attack of Mother Flame, the sky above Lulusha had started to cloud over, and something resembling a shadow appeared. We still don't know if there was an object there or if the cloud generated that attack, but it seems there's no doubt that Mother Flame is related to the weather or the sky. I would like to add further information from the perspective of the original language. Crocodile described Pluton in this way.
Pluton. I heard it's capable of wiping out an entire island without leaving a trace with a single shot.
This atakata manaku is the key word. Its meaning is without leaving a trace. De facto, the kingdom of Lulusha disappeared literally without leaving a trace. Therefore, one can affirm that the power of Mother Flame is comparable to that of Pluton. In other words, it's very likely that Mother Flame is related to Uranus, one of the ancestral weapons. However, I don't believe that Mother Flame is a direct replica of Uranus itself. I'll discuss this theory in detail in another video. So, if the weapon mentioned by Shiki is indeed Uranus, how did Roger come to know about this weapon? One possible key might be O'Hara. Do you remember the conversation between Rayleigh and the Straw Hat Pirates at Shaki's bar? Rayleigh was well acquainted with the scholars of O'Hara. This implies that it's highly probable that Roger's crew visited O'Hara. But if so, when would have been the right time? And why would they have needed to visit O'Hara? I think it could have happened 39 years ago. Do you remember what happened 39 years ago? The Roger pirates reached Lodestar Island. But there, the log pose needle became confused and didn't point in any direction. Who would have been the best person to ask for help to solve this mystery? Perhaps Clover, the archaeologist from O'Hara. According to Vegapunk, Clover appears to have been an adventurer who traveled all around the world, so it makes sense that Roger would go to him to learn about the secrets of the Grand Line. 39 years ago, Roger didn't understand that gathering the road poneglyphs would lead him to the final island. However, at least 26 years ago, when he fought against Whitebeard, he did comprehend the meaning of the poneglyphs. Therefore, it can be inferred that he visited O'Hara during this interval and gained knowledge there. But were the scholars of O'Hara really aware of the existence and location of Uranus? In my view, it's entirely possible. This can be explained for two reasons. One is Robin, and the other is Vegapunk. During the Fishman Island arc, it became clear from a conversation with Neptune that Robin was already aware of the existence of Uranus. I presume this is information she learned from O'Hara's research. The official reason for forbidding the decoding of poneglyphs in the world of One Piece is to prevent the resurrection of ancestral weapons. As a result, it's possible that people in the world of One Piece are aware of the existence of ancestral weapons, but it's unknown how many of them know the 3 specific names of the ancestral weapons. At least, the name of the ancestral weapon doesn't seem to be very well known to the general public. Robin was not allowed access to the basement of the laboratory, but thanks to her abilities, she was able to peek inside. For this reason, it's highly likely that she learned about the identity of Uranus through O'Hara's research. I'd also like to explain the relationship between O'Hara and Vegapunk. In Chapter 1066, it's revealed that Vegapunk knew Clover. Therefore, it's highly probable that Vegapunk too learned about the identity of Uranus and what kind of weapon it was through O'Hara's research. So, it could have been him who replicated Mother Flame using the knowledge of Uranus obtained from O'Hara. Now I'll share my theory. Where was Uranus located? I believe in God Valley. I think that the scholars of O'Hara knew that Uranus was in God Valley. But how did they know? It could be thanks to this poneglyph. We don't know what was written on the poneglyph in the basement of O'Hara's lab, but it might have indicated the location of Uranus. As I've explained, Roger's pirates could have obtained information about Uranus from the scholars of O'Hara and went to God Valley to check on the ancestral weapon Uranus. Some of you might think they went to God Valley to fight or interrupt the plan of the Rocks pirates for world domination. But the reason why Roger's pirates were there has not yet been revealed. The biggest clue here is Sengoku's observation. Indeed, in the original version, Sengoku says, Garp teamed up with Roger, who happened to be there, to defeat Rocks. Please pay attention to this Japanese word. Iyawaseru is often used in context like happened to be there. What this phrase tells us is that Roger was there for reasons different from the Marines. Initially, Garp and Roger didn't have the goal of collaborating, and we can understand from the context that Roger's pirates also happened to be in God Valley by chance, from the viewpoint of the Marines. So personally, I think the reason they went to God Valley was to find out what Uranus was. I don't believe Roger wanted Uranus, but I think he went to God Valley to verify its existence. And after that incident, God Valley was wiped off the map. In chapter 957, when Sengoku mentioned God Valley Island, he said, "It has disappeared completely without leaving a trace." Remember this phrase? This is the expression used by Crocodile to stress its power when describing Pluton. Pluton had been kept underground in Wano 800 years ago, so it's unlikely that Pluton was used there. The weapon that wiped out God Valley might have been Uranus. On the other hand, let's take a look at God Valley as it appears in volume 4 billion. This might just seem like a cloud, but doesn't it also seem like something else? Here. Everything connects. Since I've been talking for a long time, let me reorganize a bit. 39 years ago, Roger's pirates reached Lodestar Island and realized it wasn't the last island. To solve the mystery of this Grand Line, they visited the archaeologist Clover in the West Sea. And they learned that Uranus was located in a place called God Valley, thanks to the poneglyph information stored in the basement of O'Hara's lab. And as a result of going to God Valley to investigate Uranus, they clashed with Rox and the Marines. That's where the God Valley incident happened. This was 38 years ago. Roger's pirates arrived at Lodestar Island 39 years ago, so it all makes sense in chronological order. And after Roger and his crew left God Valley, the entire island was erased by the world government. To support this theory, I'd like to bring in an additional detail. According to my hypothesis, Roger's pirates visited O'Hara first and then headed to God Valley Island. And coincidentally, these islands could be in West Blue. I know some of you might say, it hasn't been confirmed yet that God Valley is an island of West Blue, but it remains a tangible possibility. Consider the conversation between Shanks and Whitebeard. Shanks says, "I've traveled all the seas in the world, but nothing beats the sake made from water that permeates my skin. It's the sake from my hometown. Have a drink." He uses the expression Hadani Shimita Mizu, meaning the water that permeates the skin. In Japanese language, this expression can be used to indicate the water one has used since birth. From this, we can deduce that Shanks spent some time in his hometown. Also, his statement seems to refer to his nostalgia for his childhood hometown rather than after he grew up. Shanks was discovered in a treasure chest by Roger's pirates at the age of 1. Unless Roger subsequently entrusted Shanks to someone, I don't think he stayed in one specific place for a long time, because they are pirates. It's not yet certain whether he was born in God Valley, but it's almost certain that he's of Figueron blood. So there's a possibility that his hometown is Mariajois, but Mariajois is not in West Blue. Therefore, it's highly likely that God Valley was located in West Blue. Shanks was born 39 years ago, and the God Valley incident happened 38 years ago. If he was raised there for a year since his birth, then it's understandable that he describes the water of West Blue as if it's alcohol permeating the skin. Finally, I'll answer some questions those who have followed so far might still have. As I've already said, the ancestral weapon Uranus might have been used to wipe out the entire island of God Valley. I believe it was the world government who used it. One of the reasons is that Sengoku stated that God Valley was an island the world government wanted to erase. Another compelling reason came up in volume 4 billion. In this volume, Oda-sensei illustrates a bit of the history of Roger's pirates bringing back a treasure chest containing Shanks from God Valley. They had escaped from the Marines after the God Valley incident. At that time, we can see God Valley before it was wiped out. The fact that God Valley Island was not yet erased when Roger left God Valley indicates that it was only the world government who erased God Valley. Rox was defeated by Roger and Garp, so he wouldn't have had a chance to use it. Therefore, Even though Shiki, who was a member of the Rocks Pirates, was present at God Valley, I believe he never came to know the true nature of the ancient weapon because the Rocks Pirates were defeated before the weapon was used. But this raises another question. Why hasn't the world government used Uranus in the last 38 years? And why didn't they use it before 38 years ago? Because according to this theory, Uranus has always been in God Valley. I think there's a reason why the government failed to find Uranus while it was in God Valley, and Uranus disappeared after the world government actually used it. Why? I'll explain in the next video. I'll conclude this video with just a hint.